Hey there, I'm Kurt Braget, and I'm the CTO of NFT Genius. I'm happy to be here at REIMAGINE.
Hello and welcome to ReImagine 2021. This is our 8th conference in a monthly series of events, bringing you nothing but the best projects, bright minds, and leaders in the space. We've been fortunate enough to invite many talented individuals and teams to come speak with us, providing updates, insights, and all the above that's happening in crypto. I'll be your host today, Adam, from the MouseBelt team, where we focus on early stage investments through our accelerator, providing development support to a number of growing projects, as well as education within the MouseBelt University program. Our main objective and goals are simple. It's increasing adoption, use cases, and real-world applications. This conference is really to kind of educate our audience on blockchain by helping them understand like crypto's real impact. So again, thank you all for tuning in right now to the ReImagine 2021. Feel free to check out our YouTube channel. We have over 300 interviews from many, teams and projects and leaders in the space. So feel free to check that out. But without further ado, I have an exciting guest. I think a first time kind of joining ReImagine. So I'm super stoked to kind of get some new blood. We've been having, some repeat offenders here, but super psyched to have Kurt here, Braget, CTO from NFT Genius. How you doing today, Kurt?
Doing amazing. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Awesome. So, I know, your team put you on the spot, within the last 24 hours. So we'll kind of have some fun here, chat about NFTs. That's the theme of this conference. And we've done DeFi, we've done kind of tales from the crypto during Halloween, everybody's horror stories, and kind of we're just moving through here. So, you're the first time, this is your first time joining. So I'd love to just kind of get your background prior to blockchain crypto and kind of what led you into the space.
Yeah, I think that, before I knew anything about crypto and blockchains, I have a background in sports and skateboarding was a big thing for me. And then, I started getting into other competitive stuff like chess playing and just kind of started getting more nerdy, and then I got into programming. And so I've been into software engineering now for a little over 15 years. And that kind of led me into cryptocurrencies and stuff. And, I was already into startups. So I was very into different kinds of technologies. And I think around 2011, that's when I got into cryptocurrencies. I got into Bitcoin.
Yeah, man, that's pretty early on. I came across it in 2013. There's a lot of people that you're probably one of the earliest that I've chatted with on here, 2010, 2011. But for the most part, everybody's, around 2013 and beyond. What were your thoughts actually like on cryptocurrency coming from the background, right, of, developer and kind of understanding the tech space? Did it make sense to you right away? Because everybody has their own rabbit story. They go down the rabbit hole, right? And then kind of like everybody takes their own journey. Like what were your thoughts originally around crypto?
Yeah, so I mean, there's just been these sort of defining moments in my life, even though I'm a very scientific person and pretty logical, I would say, but there's like a feeling that you get when you see something that you know is important. And I kind of got that feeling from skateboarding and comics when I was younger. And then when I first saw Bitcoin, I think it was Tim Draper that kind of introduced it to me because he was one of our early investors in a company that we built back in the day. And when I first saw it, it had that kind of magic feeling for me. It was something that I knew was totally different. And when I looked at it, it just had that kind of just magic vibe that it was something really just special. And I didn't fully understand it, but I wanted to. And I just got deep into it. I just started buying it, watching what happens with the price is just like one of the craziest things I'd seen. I didn't really, at first it was just like some funny money that maybe it could be a thing. And then as I got deeper in, I mean, it wasn't but like a month or two of being into it where I was like, man, this could really take down the banks, or this could really be something huge someday, right?
Yeah.
So that was my first thought on it. It was just always, the second I saw it, it was like love at first sight for me. So
That's interesting. And what were your like conversations, I guess. I mean, this is kind of cool because everybody says that, I was mining and or my buddy was telling me and I ditched it. You kind of like caught on pretty quick. So were you going to meetups? Like, what was your experience like? And we'll kind of fast forward later, but what was your experience at that time? Like buying, selling, holding, how did that turn out?
Yeah, the experience, man, I feel like I feel like I should write about it sometime because it sort of reminds me of like some kind of cypherpunk novel because, when I was buying it, you couldn't really buy it from like Coinbase or anything like that. Like Coinbase was barely getting started at that point in time. And so the way that you could buy it back in the day was through these blind deposits where you would deposit through your bank somewhere, and then you'd go and like refresh a web page until you saw it there, and then you'd have to like move it to a wallet or something, or you'd have to buy it off the street from somebody who had it. And there were guys, but I didn't really trust them and it felt kind of shady. And I mined. So at that point in time, I was like, where can I get free electricity from? And so I started
That's
running
awesome.
CPU mining, CPU mines on like to CPU mine Bitcoin back in the day when you could mine it on a CPU. And that was also very interesting. It's really hard to do. But for somebody who's always running computers and in the office a lot programming already, it just kind of makes sense to run a miner. So that was like my intro.
Nice, nice. Yeah, no, I think that's pretty cool. I think there was some story I read where like this kid was in school and he was running rigs underneath his bed and he got kicked out. And like, I guess that was his destiny to like, I guess, stick with it, right? If you believed in
Yeah.
it that much. But so how do you see kind of Bitcoin's role? Like, we're going to get into NFTs, we're going to get an NFT Genius, like what you're working on as a CTO. How do you view, I guess, and you could take it either way, like Bitcoin or blockchain, or you can dabble in both and kind of get your perspectives and really opinions, because we have like viewers right now that are tuning in from universities, students, investors, people just, maybe their experience too, and also, a wide range of to the degree of how they understand blockchain. But, a lot of our discussions here are just real world discussions, like almost like applying blockchain to applicable like use cases, right? Like we're trying to shed light, and you had a great intro, just kind of the way you got into it. How do you view Bitcoin or blockchain, and like, what's the impact? Like, how do you see the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Bitcoin is one of the, and blockchain and solving these, uh, Byzantine generals problem. I think that it's huger than anybody really maybe understands. And I think that blockchains are a super innovative thing. I kind of liken it to something like the Gutenberg press or something like a massive historical event that happened that people don't even really fully understand what the implications are. And I think that the main thing for me that I think about is how, governments are controlling currencies, like the governments, the fiat currencies are national currencies, and they're still very much a part of the world today. Like the US dollar is still a big deal, and the UN is still a big deal. And what I think that something like Bitcoin did is that it's like the beginning of the death of national currencies, and that I think eventually national currencies won't be a thing anymore. Just like there's not really a national computer company. I mean, you could argue maybe there is. There's not many things that are really super innovative that are like nationalized things. And currency is a really important thing for everybody. It's their livelihood. It's how they feed their families. It's how they earn. It's how they exchange. And it's how people relate to each other. And to have a government be in control of that is a really risky and dangerous thing. And so opening it up to where many people can interact with and build their own currencies in their own way that are more international, to me feels more safe, and that's the future. And I think that Bitcoin started it. Where Bitcoin fits into the future, it could go on forever. I don't know. It could become like a gold where it spans hundreds of years and is very valuable. But I think that, I'm not really as much of a Bitcoin maximalist as I used to be. And I think that I learned a hard lesson from being a Bitcoin maximalist, because that's one of the reasons why I kind of underestimated Ethereum, actually, was because I was like, fuck all these other chains, these shit coins. I don't care about them. Like, maybe Bitcoin is the thing. Like I used to get mad at Litecoin. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I was like, because in the beginning, that was kind of what the culture was.
Yeah.
It was
It was
like,
very like they call it like tribalist, right? They kind of like
yeah,
one sector of it.
yeah, for sure. So like I think that going through my own kind of maximalist period where I was like, Bitcoin is everything, because it really was at first.
Yeah.
There wasn't really anything that could really compare to it. And I kind of saw how QQ coins played out in China, because I went to school in China, and I saw virtual currencies really, really taking off. That's part of the reason why I missed Bitcoin earlier, was because I was in China right during the time that it was launched, and it wasn't really like a big deal there. But just seeing how people interacted with virtual currencies, I think kind of primed me for really understanding what something like a Bitcoin could do. But yeah, I really got clowned by maximalism. But then eventually I kind of came to, and now I really love to explore all kinds of different utility tokens and all different kinds of tokens now.
And to kind of like continue on this little path for another minute or so, we just talked about Bitcoin, right? And we have people, the media, when they think about blockchain, it's Bitcoin. Bitcoin is blockchain, right? And once you get into the space, you're like, all right, there's that's one application of it. So, what's your view now, or not your view, but let's talk about blockchain. Like the technology, like what excites you about it, and motivates you to kind of obviously you're in the space now. How was that transition to from Web 2.0 to Web 3.0, and then also what's your view on kind of the technology itself?
Yeah, I think that, under the hood, blockchain is the thing that's powering all of these tokens and ecosystems. And I think that it's very innovative. I believe that it opens up a whole new world for the internet. Like I'm a really big believer that Web3 could be the new internet. And I get really excited when I think about, building immortal applications that are deployed to blockchains, and that you never know who actually deployed them. They could be something that's just a great service to people, financial tools. I like the idea that anybody in the world can participate and deploy applications to a blockchain, because they're really expressive. Like an example is that, like, at one point in time, only certain people could write and only certain people could publish. But what I think a blockchain does is it means anybody. You could be in the middle of some place, in some developing country, and build a really relevant financial service, and you could do so anonymously, and you could help people. And there's, when we talk about accessibility, because that's where a lot of the narrative, like equity and accessibility is an important thing to so many people. And if you want to look at a tool that enables that, a blockchain does. Anybody can really participate.
where do where do you lie in terms of, in kind of going off of your perspective and thoughts on a blockchain here, is like decentralization and centralization, like this peer-to-peer kind of network, which we're in and obviously we believe in. To what degree will the world be decentralized? We have maximalists like, I want to be completely off the grid. And then we have like your Coinbases where, you're halfway in, halfway out, which are, I feel like every kind of infrastructure or every kind of, evolution of products and projects, play its role. And how do you kind of view like decentralization and centralization in terms of like its, application? Like, should everything be decentralized? Is some of it, hybrid approach?
Yeah, I'm not so much a decentralization maximalist. Like I tend to look at all angles and just try to see the truth in every angle that is out there. Like if you look at a service like Coinbase, which started as a wallet and quickly realized that the wallet business is not good and got into exchange business, they have provided a central layer to blockchain. And in my opinion, they're a really influential force in pushing the industry forward, and they're centralized, right? But it's I really believe in products where there's a great customer demand, and a lot of people see the value in Bitcoin, but they don't understand decentralization and how to set up wallets. And so it's a great business. They provide a service that allows them access to these kind of decentralized things. and they charge a fee. So to me, that's a great business, and they're pushing the industry forward. Like there's so many people that have been able to use these kind of services, and now that they've IPO'd, it's really substantiated what blockchain and crypto-based businesses can do on like the traditional financial markets as well, and that is a big deal. So to me, centralization and centralized services that create bridges to those kind of decentralized services are running the game, and they're crucial for now. I do really love decentralization and truly decentral services. Sometimes I joke and I say that some people are suffering from premature decentralization because they try to build this system where it's so decentralized that they're not in control in any way, which is great. But then if something goes awry, like it's also not easy to fix. It's not easy to control, but it also means it's not easy to fix. And I think that that's the problem that's going on with Ethereum, because the fees are super high. And I think that, even you can see quotes from Vitalik saying that he thinks, $1 or less of a fee on Bitcoin is a joke, right? But now if I want to mint an NFT, I have to pay upwards of $200 just to get it on sale. And I'm not making any money. I'm losing money on that. And so to me, too decentralized, or a system that doesn't have enough governance that can influence those kind of outcomes, are just poorly designed. But I love decentralization. Full decentralization to me is the goal, where people are autonomous and they can participate in an equal way. But if somebody can game it too easily, or if something goes wrong, if there's an architectural problem, that is not a good kind of decentralization. That's like the downside to me, right?
Yeah. There's two aspects of that, one spectrum or the other. And you've kind of touched on it a little bit in terms of the challenges, right? And kind of the barriers. Like, how do you think, and we need some of these centralized parties to, like you said, get us on and off crypto and provide technical support, customer support. And I guess once you get to that point, then it's up to you if you want to, go completely, into the crypto world, or you're half and half. But obviously there's opportunities kind of more on the decentralized side of managing your own funds, earning a little bit more interest, right? Taking money outside the traditional markets. How do you think we get crypto to the next billion people?
I really believe that collectibles and NFTs are going to take us there. Because most people, I feel like, aren't going to be, daily interacting with, DeFi. I think it's going to be a part of their life eventually, just like banking is. But I'm not hopping in my Wells Fargo app every day because I'm super excited. I think that gaming and NFTs and digital assets are going to, that's where the market is. Collectibles is the largest industry in the world. Anybody can connect with that, like from a little kid to an adult can connect with that kind of stuff. So my belief is that NFTs are going to completely blow away the decentralized finance user base over time. I think, within the next probably like 3 to 5 years, that there will be way more collectibles users, and that games will kind of put us over the top there. I think that there's going to be millions and millions of games and digital asset holders.
And I think right now, although DeFi boomed kind of internally in this crypto bubble, NFTs are actually kind of, taking charge here, right? And for quite some time. And I just kind of learned that the first NFT, I believe, was like in 2014. Kind of interesting. So let's get into like NFT Genius. Like, let's tell the audience what you guys are working on, what's kind of the goal and mission, and we'll start there.
Yeah. So, first is like, we have pretty much like a dream team, like Jeremy Bourne, our CEO, he's a visionary thinker. He really knows how to think about where the puck is going. And that's one of the reasons why I follow him as a technologist. Like, as a technologist, I want to follow people who are ambitious and they're visionary and they have good leadership. We also have storytellers. We really have a production team. So we have Paul Jenkins. He's done a lot of great work at Marvel, and he was one of the original Ninja Turtles team and helped build Ninja Turtles. We have Carl Meyer, who's just like, he's also a visionary thinker, and him and Jay are like a really great team in coming up with ideating stuff on blockchains. And we just have great people. Joe Sikta. We have Mute, who's our illustrator, and he's incredible at what he does. And he's built, he's illustrated the story that we created for Bitcoin Origins. And what we're really trying to do with NFT Genius is build a kind of storytelling company around digital assets. And right now we're very focused on NFTs. And we believe that these kind of assets, they have stories that are really important. And we build marketplaces around these kind of NFTs that have stories. And we're also going to like where we believe NFTs are going to be, like they have utility. You can interact with them, you can nurture them. They're keys that unlock experiences. And we're trying to use them in a way that we really believe that they're going to be used in the future. So that's a lot of our focus, is just building next level kind of NFT or crypto asset experiences.
How long has NFT Genius, when did the project start?
So it started last year, a little bit before October. We had been kind of ideating. Obviously there's a story behind every person who joined the team and their journey in NFTs, but we officially launched in October, and just in that short amount of time, we've pulled in millions in revenue in the NFT space, and we've hit all of the top charts. We've been able to make we made $500,000 in a few seconds on one of our pre-sales, and so it's moved along pretty quick, and now we're moving into our venture round, which is led by Mark Cuban, and we've been working with Mark Cuban, and he's been an incredible help to us. And we have a lot of other really great investors that are really huge in the crypto industry. We're kind of private about that for now. It's not public information, but we're moving into music now. We have a few sets that are like this storytelling set, but we decided that another great opportunity for NFTs is storytelling and experiences in music. So that's kind of where my focus has been mostly, and some of the guys on our team are focused on that.
Did you think NFTs were going to come this quick?
No.
Right.
I didn't. The thing is I've been into it for a really long time. I have a really great MLB collection that I had from 2018. I collected CryptoKitties the day that they came out. I thought it was kind of novel and sort of nerdy at first, and it's like felt very niche. But
were you thinking like speculative, and we'll kind of get into this because I've had these NFT discussions, and there's a different degree of like why one would buy an NFT, right? Like you have this one way of like buying expensive art, right? And that's kind of like what's kind of in the mass media, or like you're buying a fraction of like this Lamborghini or whatever. But like there's these like normal areas, these gray areas, these middle areas, like yourself, or like you're just interested in either kind of the NFT itself, like being a part of it, like the experience. What is it for you that you, like you were just talking about it, kind of like the CryptoKitties, and you thought it was like kind of interesting, and were you thinking like, oh, I want to make money, or I don't know what's going to happen, but this is kind of cool?
yeah, at first, no, I wasn't really thinking about money. I was just thinking that it was novel. I thought that, maybe someday it would be worth something, and it was so new. And for me, it was really just, I was attracted to like new experiences. I'd been into crypto for so long. And so seeing something like a pet with DNA that was also a crypto asset was super interesting to me. So to me, it was about the experience. I just wanted to experience something fun, and it just felt kind of nerdy and niche in a way. And so, but then eventually I kind of realized, like with MLB, I started thinking more about like these kind of collectible things are, if physical collectibles go digital, of course they're going to be very valuable. And so getting in early and holding some of these things over time is really going to be a big deal. So I started changing my outlook, and then I just kept getting more and more interested in creating them. And so I started creating them myself and just wanted to understand, like, how do you create them? What can you do with them? And kind of started tinkering myself. And then it just kept, snowballing into where it is now.
And it's interesting. I think like all of, we've surpassed like the total value from 2020 just this year. We're not even like halfway through the year. So what does that kind of mean, I guess? I know we might be, in this bubble, or not bubble, but like this community. So like it makes sense. But like these numbers, kind of this data at its core, it just means like more people are interested. There's probably more people that are alike, that are, kind of show, so much more interest in terms of buying NFTs. There's a market.
Yeah, I feel like we're definitely in some kind of cycle. I don't often speculate too much. Like, I really don't know what's going to happen. I'm not like, if I really believe something, I'll say it, but I'm not that bold. It does feel a little high price. Like, even one of our NFTs sold for, I think at its peak in cryptocurrencies, like just one card from our set sold for 450,000 USD. And I
Wow.
was just blown away by that.
Yeah.
Like, I would have never been able to guess that it would sell for that much. But so to me, the prices are a little bit high. It's kind of maybe a bubble in a way, but I feel like these kind of bubbles, they're more of like cycles where like the ICO quote unquote bubble was a thing. It was a bubble, right? But what it did was it sort of opened the door for DeFi, to where it's like, well, hey, I'm not going to pay you up front, millions of dollars to invest in your token that has no technology. And then it kind of flipped it upside down, where people got burned on that. And then they kind of got tired of it. And then it kind of evolved, like from the ashes of that came DeFi, where it's like, there's great products that actually have financial services. And oh, by the way, we're not doing a wild token sale with a white paper. Like, just pick up the tokens and use them in the system. And so it kind of naturally corrected itself. And I think that we're going to have a similar thing. Like, there's a lot of stuff that you would consider trash even on the market right now. And I think it's going to evolve a lot. And I feel like NFTs is in its ICO period.
Yeah.
And then it's going to become more about utility and value and what it provides as a service, just like DeFi came after ICOs.
Do you see NFTs and DeFi, colliding, coming together?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that arguably they already are. I think that Wax built a pretty innovative system where profits from the percentages of market fees get put into a pool, and then governance tokens that you stake allow you to take yields from those pools of revenues. And that allows people to be, the stakeholders to be vested in how well that NFT ecosystem does. I think Meme is a great example. There's so many great examples, like Alien Worlds is a great example of tokens and NFTs. It's kind of, tokens and NFTs are kind of, and DeFi, it's kind of like peanut butter and jelly, really. Like, they really fit together very well. I think that the thing that I think has the most legs right now is really that you become a shareholder in an NFT ecosystem, and you really believe in it. You also purchase those NFTs because you love to collect them and you like to move them on secondary markets. But then you also enjoy yields from all of the action that happens in those markets. And I think there's going to be a lot, like digital fashion, toys, games. They're all going to probably go in that direction where they have DeFi models on them.
If possible, can you elaborate a little bit on kind of the NFT itself? Like, so we're talking about a digital representation, right? Kind of a receipt as well in the NFT. And then there's also like owning an NFT of a physical item. So are these two different worlds? And how would one view, like my grandpa, like he wants the physical card, right? We were collectors too. And how would you separate the two? Like, what does that even look like? Like, one you just buy online, and one you own like disclosure, right? Like they sold the right, or not the rights actually. They sold the artwork of the group's face, but like I realized that you didn't own the copyright or the physical item. So like, how do you distinguish like an NFT? And obviously, there's going to be multiple worlds with NFTs.
Yeah, I, I'll just keep it real with you. I feel like binding the NFTs to physical goods, I think that there's some very interesting use cases, but I think that, the real deep insight about NFTs to me is that they're digital only items and that they're digital first, they're digital only, they may only ever be digital. Um, I love the idea of physical backed stuff, like you buy a Nike shoe that's an NFT. You see that a lot of other people are FOMOing on it. You flip it on the market. Nike makes money off of that secondary trade. So they sold the shoe, and every time that shoe sells in the digital world, they make money off of it. And then eventually, if somebody wants to, burn or redeem the NFT, they can get the shoes to them in the mail. The NFT disappears, right? Like that is really great. And I think that, fashion, shoes, all these different things can be sold like that. And it's really, if you're somebody who's creating physical goods, it's a dream come true to you because it's kind of like a fractional reserve where that shoe may never be redeemed. It might only be digital. Like, why would you take an NFT that's of a rare Jordan that's sold for $15,000? Why would you ever redeem it for the physical item if you didn't believe that you could fetch 20K for it, right? So there's like a whole financial play and kind of a game in it. And then at the end of the day, you don't even have to manufacture that good if you don't want to, because nobody will ever redeem it. But to me, it's really about digital first. I think that that's really where it is. Like, there's no point of a gaming asset ever really being a physical good. So I really believe that all of these things and most of the market is going to be digital first. Like if you just looked at the whole collectibles industry right now, my guess is it's not digital, and that digital is a small piece of it. Like games are huge, right? Like
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you can't deny that. But I think that eventually it's going to flip to where the physical items aren't going to be important, because you might be in a metaverse where, the sword is only really valuable in the metaverse, and I can use all the functions that you would expect. I want to show it to my friend, I want to take a picture with it. You can do all that kind of stuff. Like all of those functions in the physical world are, you can do them in metaverses. And so you're not going to want the physical good is going to be like a burden eventually. It's sort of like you don't want to have the CD anymore, right? You don't want to, some people want the vinyl. So it's kind of like there's still something to it. But for the most part, I can experience music in every way that I want to digitally. I do not need the record or the CD to experience music the way that I want. And I think it's the same for a toy or any other thing.
wow, that was pretty. That those analogies are pretty legit though. Like you're right. Like I don't need a CD. I got my my streaming, my digital version of all my music. Like I don't need to lug stuff like that.
You don't.
Um, yeah, no, that's super interesting, and I like the way you frame that, because yeah, I'm trying to understand too myself, right? Like, and it's also like what are some of the barriers, I guess, to kind of advance NFTs? Like, is it psychological? Obviously, this is like native to the internet, so it's generational too, right? Like some people, want the physical item. Some people maybe kind of moving forward, or the next, generation, or like you said, just want the digital. What are still some of the challenges, I guess, or risks involved? And we'll start there.
Yeah. So I think that some of the challenges is that, like, one thing is that NFTs are connected with blockchains and wallets and a lot of stuff that people don't understand. I think even this terminology NFT, like, we probably want to call them nifties or something else,
Yeah.
because NFT, it doesn't really roll off the tongue the way that it should. And it sounds complicated. It's an acronym. I feel like just when someone hears it, it doesn't register with them. You know what I mean? And then also that you have to interact with wallets in a technical way, like you do in crypto, is going to be a barrier for a while. And so that's it. And I think that the other barrier is just like how you said, generational, and how people perceive value. Like a lot of people are looking at the NFTs and they're like, well, why don't I just take a screenshot of it or something? Like there's going to be like people are going to kind of be forced in a way to accept the reality that digital items are good without really even understanding it. Just like, you know, if a dollar was introduced today, people would be like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't want a dollar with some old dude's wig on his head from 200 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck is this? Like a lot of
Yeah.
people, I don't know if like you want to edit that, but like it's basically like if we introduced a dollar, which everybody accepts is like, I give you a dollar, like you know what it is. Everybody knows, even a little kid knows what it is, right? But if you introduce that today, you'd have those same kind of skeptics like, I don't know if this shit is going to work, right? And that's how people are responding to NFTs. It's very new, and so people are like, well, why is that valuable? And it brings you into these dialogues about what is a currency, what is valuable, what
It
is
does.
scarcity, and how do we perceive it? And my take on that is that every single thing that has value only has value in your mind, whether it's physical or digital, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, and like that, being in this space now for a few years now, that's kind of what I think about. It's like it's made me think about just completely different, right? Like I think the fiat's gonna die tomorrow. It's not gonna happen, but it makes you think like what is valuable?
It
People are
is.
valuing these digital items, and I get that too. Um, maybe because it hasn't, maybe I don't perceive it valuable, but like, yeah, there's value out there. How are you guys tackling, like, let's talk about NFT Genius though. Can you talk about just kind of the project itself? Like, we're talking about NFTs, like what you said you're working around communities and storytellers. What does that mean? Like, from the way I interpret that is like, you're trying to provide this environment that tailors to kind of the nifty market, right? Or the people involved, the parties involved, as opposed to just a platform where people do their own thing and then they come to exchange. It seems like you guys are tailoring the experience to the nifty kind of targeted market, and adding value that way. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah, that's about right. So we have a very active community on Telegram, for example. I think we're at 6,000 or like it just, there's a lot of people that are really involved in our story. Like we have, like our story is about, it's Bitcoin origins. It's about the origins of Bitcoin and those special moments. So it's moment-based set. We create illustrations that kind of show the story of Bitcoin. And so, like Satoshi and, Hal Finney and all of these, Bitcoin Pizza Day. So we illustrate it. It's kind of like a comic in a sense, and it tells the story, and there's hidden clues inside. And we, every single, I think it's every 3 moments now, we give out 1 Bitcoin to somebody who finds and follows the clues properly and can solve the puzzles. There's really deep puzzles inside of it. We hide all kinds of stuff everywhere. And so it's kind of like, in a way, we've kind of turned a NFT set into kind of like a Netflix series. And we really believe that, connecting moments and having a cadence of like, this thing leads to another and there's hidden clues. And when you combine them together, there's a story. It kind of reminds me of like one of my favorite shows, Dark. If you've ever seen that on Netflix, it's like you have to take pieces from different parts of the series and put them all together so you can solve the mystery. And that's a really important thing in entertainment right now, is like, how much does it make you think and talk about it offline? And so that's kind of what we're doing with our NFTs over there. And they're beautiful. They're illustrated. You look into it and they kind of evoke emotion behind it.
And we've talked about collectibles. How else do you see this NFT nifty market going in terms of DJs, right? Artists. It seems like there's a shift from like mass marketing to now like peer-to-peer marketing, like, one-to-one, right? Like which is a whole thing about blockchain in general, crypto. It's peer-to-peer, right? Me to you, quick, efficient, no need for third parties. It seems like kind of in these other entertainment industries, it's amplifying, going from your Instagram live, Facebook lives to your profiles there, to now like actually being able to give you something directly, one to one, right?
Yeah.
How do you view kind of this shift of, it's another use case, I guess, or application in terms of engagement and community?
Yeah, a huge thing that we're doing at NFT Genius right now is we launched Gaia. We launched the pre-sign up. So it's on Gaia.com. And what we are building right now is a way for musicians to interact with their fans directly. You could kind of think about it like a nifty gateway in a sense, because we're doing drops and we're helping really huge, like we've talked to a lot of huge Billboard musicians, and we're launching with them to bring them to a place where they can release these kind of collectibles in like a music centric way, so that they can interact with their fans. And like exactly what you're saying is right. Like fans want to get a piece of the things that they love. And before NFTs, it's like not exactly easy to do that. And it's not easy for the artist to build these kind of products. Like just even making a shirt, like it's super hard to do it, and like a lot of money that they make comes from merch, and you have to manufacture and ship, and there's all this BS involved. But like when you buy a digital collectible that has an experience, like it goes into your wallet immediately. You get it right now. They have proven rarity. It's not just something that anybody can get. And the idea is that the artist, like the musician or the artist, they're selling it directly to their fan base. So even artists on the small end, like just imagine trying to make money on Spotify. If you're like a relatively successful DJ, like you have to get a lot of streams to make $1 even, right? But I think that one of the reasons why these artists are getting so excited right now is because they realize even selling one NFT for $50, which is like actually pretty low priced in this market, is a huge deal to them. Like if you took any artist right now, if they sold one NFT today for $50, like it's going to change their whole perspective about how they interact with their fan base. And so what we're doing with Gaia is we're allowing these artists to create these kind of collectibles, and we're helping them to create really engaging collectibles that have experiences, so that they can sell them directly to their fans at scale too. Like we can sell millions of these to their fans, where you can't really do that on Ethereum or any of these other blockchains.
Yeah, it provides kind of that residual income, for a lot of these musicians, and there's a lot of discussions right now around that too. Like a lot of them make money outside of their music, like not on their actual music, and so hopefully this
Yeah.
kind of brings it back. We got couple more minutes here. We'll wrap it up. But what about technologically? So interoperability, right? Like what do you guys built on one, and then how do you see it, like kind of with regards to, I meant on Ethereum and like it has to stay on Ethereum, or I meant on Tezos, like kind of opening those doors a little bit, which would probably add value, so you don't have to like make those decisions. You just mint an NFT, and then you can freely transfer that however you wish. Like how do you kind of see that from, and you're a developer, so your CTO, like what's going on, so how do you kind of see that landscape? Obviously it's going to get better, but what are some of the risks, or like or the positives, like things are moving in a great direction, like these things are happening already? What's your take on kind of NFT like interoperability?
Yeah, I think it's important. I think that, the reason why that dialogue started, I think, is because Ethereum was so expensive. So people started thinking about, well, if it's so expensive over here, maybe if I pop it into another network, like if it's a sword, for example, just imagine paying the gas fee to like sell a sword in like a store in a game. Like it's just, you can't do it, right? So you might think, well, how about I build my store over here on an L2 or Wax or some other place where there aren't fees, and now I can sell the sword around all the time, and I don't have to gouge the customer to do it. So it makes a lot of sense to move these assets around, but I don't feel like it's a huge burden for us right now, because what we want to do is make the experience and the stuff that's on that certain chain stay there for now. Like, and then a lot of people are building bridges, so I don't think that we're going to have to do it. I think that there's a few great sets who've kind of like done that with their tokens and the liquidity. Like Alien Worlds has a Wax token, but they also have an Ethereum token and a BSC token. And so you can swap it around to different places. And I think that that's going to be the future, where you can kind of freely swap it around to different chains. Just for now, that isn't really a thing. Like, I don't want to move my wax stuff into Ethereum actually, because there's no point behind it unless it's a token and I can, get liquidity somewhere to like move it. And so, for example, in music, we're building on the Flow blockchain, and there's a lot of reasons why we're doing that. And typically we build on Wax. Like, I've built probably 20 different sets over on Wax in the past, and there's low resources. It's like pros and cons of each one. And I can imagine a world where you will swap it around, just like tokens. Like BSC is a perfect example, in my opinion. Eventually, people might want to move, and I think that this is kind of like a little bit of a prediction. Is that I think that BSC and NFTs are going to be a big deal, and so you might see people wanting to move their Ethereum-based NFTs over into BSC or these other EVM compatible places, because you can't use it there. It's sort of like just sitting there collecting dust, and you're scared to move it around. But when NFTs have more utility other than I bought it and it's high priced item, like if I want to wield a sword or I want to use a ticket, I don't want to pay these gas fees. So I think that that's like the big benefit right now, moving the assets into places where the fees are lower so you can move them around.
Yeah, I mean, those play critical. Like, so are you bullish on Ethereum? Just a matter of time, or it doesn't even really matter? Like you said, I don't know if
They all have
time
their
will
pros and
tell.
cons. They have their pros and
Yeah,
cons. Like, I'm bullish on Ethereum because it's an infinitely valuable network that's built the gold standard for NFTs. And to me, I really see long term it being more of like a DeFi network, because I don't think that NFTs and maybe like highly collectible NFTs, like high priced items, but I don't see the future of NFTs being on Ethereum. But I do see a lot of DeFi plays. Like, Ethereum isn't going away. I think BSC is starting to eat its lunch right now, and I think that there's some value behind what BSC does. I feel like all of them have pros and cons, and for me, I'm kind of more of a blockchain agnostic person, because I've learned from mistakes in the past where if you get too narrow-minded about certain chains, that all you really do is miss opportunity. That's kind of how it is for me.
no, that's important. To kind of, yeah. And you've been through the ringer, right? A few times here, and I think we all have. Like, you get
Yeah.
hooked on one thing, and then somebody else kind of builds it better, and you teeter back and forth, but like you can't deny certain aspects of whatever the chain is, right? Like you said, the pros and cons. And so what you're saying is you also believe that like there's just going to be, X amount of chains, right? Like niche chains for this kind of vertical, this kind of industry. You're going to have your general chains and other chains for specific like use cases. You see that happening?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like it's kind of just already happening, but who knows really where like maybe there'll be one chain to rule them all, but I feel like they all have their own purposes, sort of like big sites, like when .coms came out, it was sort of like everybody kind of believed that they would pan out in a certain way, and like, why would you need a .com, or that company's fraudulent for adding a .com. We're seeing the same thing right now. Like, that company added blockchain or a
Yeah,
cryptocurrency. Do they really need it? And the way that .com panned out is that like Joe's coffee shop down the street has a .com now, and it's very helpful for them to do
totally.
business. And so, I could see that, specialized private chains and public chains and multiple use cases, Chuck E. Cheese chain, Barbie chain, whatever you want, you'll have a different chain for all kinds of different reasons.
Awesome, man. No, this has been a great discussion, eye-opening. I'm pretty sure our audience here is going to take away a lot of like, little nuggets, right, on kind of how to view the market, not get so tunnel vision, like understand, first of all, understanding what blockchain does, and then knowing that these chains do this, that, and the other, and then the layer of kind of applications and use cases and figuring out, what works best. And we're kind of going through that. So appreciate you kind of taking your time out of your day to come join us. I know it's dinner time for the both of us, but where can people learn more about NFT Genius, get connected to the community and really kind of dive deeper?
Yeah, so you can check us out at ongaia.com and also btcorigins.com.
Awesome. We'll go ahead and conclude here. Thank you for providing, your opinions, thoughts, feedback, and kind of your journey through blockchain and kind of what you guys are, doing in the NFT kind of specific niche here within. But you guys have definitely a holistic view on just crypto in general and providing this service way ahead of the game. As we just mentioned earlier, like we didn't think this was going to come this quick, but obviously you guys have been, doing your research and really making a difference. So I wish you good luck, from here on out. And we hope to have you guys back. We do this every month. So, I look forward to, having you back at some point, or at least NFT Genius.
Yeah, for sure. Anytime. Thank you.
Awesome. So everybody tuning in to Reimagine 2021, I just want to thank you for listening to us today. Hopefully, you learned about NFT Genius. Go ahead and check them out. This is Kurt Braget, CTO at NFT Genius. So, we'll talk to you again and hope to see you. Have a good one.
Yeah, thanks.